Okay. Here we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for being here, Melody and Austin, for this little info session. This is our usual meeting time as a group, so we'll just go over a few things tonight about the nomination process and about the coalition. And if y'all have questions at any point or need clarification, just come off a mute or you can type into the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with. But we can start off with intros. I'm Haley. I am the director of the coalition and I'm here in Austin. I work for the National Farmers Union. I have a history in vegetable production and some goats. And I like to make cakes on the side. I've been knitting a lot recently, and I'm excited to be here. And I'm drinking my favorite cider by Fairweather Cider. And that's me. Who wants to go next? Erin will go.
Hey, my name is Erin. I am the treasurer for CTYFC. I'm leasing an acre of land on the southeast side of Austin, and I am farming that with my friend Alan. And yeah.
I can go. I'm Hannah Bell, and I've been farming since like 2017-ish. I ran a farm called Harrison Creek Farm in Burnett, and then I worked for Urban American Farmer and Sustainable Food Center. And then I recently, 6 months ago, started as the garden manager at Central Texas Food Bank. My side hustle is fermenting and pickling and making hot sauce under the moniker of Hand Can. So I like to do what I can with all the excess veggies. And yeah, that's me. With CTYFC, I'm kind of, I don't really have an official title, but I'm just a support person. Do what I can, make as many meetings as I can.
She does what she can.
I was trying not to do it.
Sorry, I had to.
I can go. My name's Katie. I have been on the leadership team with CTYFC for like almost 2 years now, which feels a lot longer than it was. But anyway, my full-time job right now is working with the Texas Center for Local Food. We just launched some like one-on-one TA, and I do a lot of work on grants and other business development stuff for farmers there. And then I'm working very, very, very part-time 1 day a week at Steelbow Farm in Austin right now, and have also a history in vegetable production for a few years before that, before I started grad school and kind of came to the nonprofit world instead.
Hi y'all, I'm Tu, and I work at a nonprofit called Mobile Loaves and Fishes. I do aquaponics, hydroponics farming out there, and I have worked at just some other farms in the Austin area in the past. And in the coalition, my role specifically is communications coordinator, so a lot of social media stuff.
Thanks, y'all. Melody and Austin, do y'all want to do intros at all, or yeah, introduce yourselves if you feel like it. You can also say no. Totally fine. You can jump in. Okay.
I'll jump in first. I'm Melody. And I'm actually, one of my first questions is like, how are we defining young farmer these days? I've been in the Central Texas ag community since 2008. I was one of the early farmers at Montesino for about 5 years. Moved to Oregon for a couple years, came back, worked at Farmhouse Delivery as their buyer for a few years, and now I'm running a farm program at Tito's, where we grow food and give it all away to the people that work at the distillery.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely get to your question. I feel like young is a misnomer, so we'll definitely address that. Austin, I don't know. Okay, yeah, hey.
Hey, I don't have a camera, but I'm Austin. I'm a gardening and food cultivation educator. I help run the Austin Organic Gardeners and Central Texas Mycological Society. And I just do a lot of outreach, schedule a lot of outreach, and work on a lot of outreach.
Nice. Yeah, good to hear from you. We were expecting two other people, I think DeFranco from San Antonio and someone named Sarah, but they couldn't make it, so they jump in great. If not, we'll just keep going here. I will kick us off quickly with a little slideshow that we'll go through, that will hopefully answer a few questions and then maybe also bring up some new questions that people have. And then Austin and Melody, if you'll have questions after that, we'll get to those. And as I was mentioning to the leadership, if y'all have anything that pops up as I'm going through this, just go for it. You can interrupt. Let me share my screen here real quick. Ooh, how do I do this? Yeah. I want to do this. Sorry. Okay. Can everybody see that? Okay. Cool. Let me jump into here. Okay, so here we are. Thanks for being here. This little info session. We're going to learn a little bit about the coalition and just kind of what we do as a chapter of the National Young Farmers Coalition. So we are a volunteer-led group. We are grassroots and farmer focused for Central Texas area. Young is definitely a misnomer, and I think that the National Young Farmers Coalition is also moving away towards this, but legally, like that's their name. But basically, young can encompass anything from age to where you're at in your time in farming. You know, if it's less than 10 years, there's also no age restrictions to be a part of this coalition, to be on a chapter. If you advocate, for kind of the vision of beginning farmers and that group, then you're in the right place. There's no age restrictions or anything like that, especially, as an organizer. For some of the things that Young Farmers does, there might be age limited things like certain grants and things that they'll put out, but that's kind of come and go. So just wanted to address that. We're a group of people who have farmed in the past, who are farming or like want to farm. There's no requirement to be a farmer to be on the chapter. And we're also, values aligned so that we're working towards a common vision. And I'll kind of lay some of that out in a little bit. And quickly on our history, this is also on our website too. You can read a longer version of this, is that we were founded in 2013. So we're definitely one of the longest running chapters, and there's been a lot of change over the years. And we've done everything from social events to workshops, conferences, disaster relief in 2021, which was a main focus. But yeah, all this is on our website too if you want to read more in depth, but I'm gonna keep going. This is us. You just met us, and we're all here, all 5 of us, and 3 of us are leaving, sadly. We are just, it's just time to step down. I think the goal of running a chapter is not that it needs to continue forever and ever, but it's to create something that can be handed off. And I think it is healthy to hand off roles, just because things change, priorities change, energy levels change. And I think we've all put in a lot of time. A lot of us that are leaving have spent multiple years on the chapter. So it's always good to pass it down and to like also acknowledge your limitations too. So I won't speak on behalf of anybody else, but yeah, there's a lot of different reasons for that. So we're excited to welcome in new people. And here are a few positions we have open. So we're going to have a treasurer position open. And that's important because that's going to be who manages our money. And we'll also need a director. So that will be ideally someone who's doing my job who really wants to like spearhead the coalition and wants to be in charge of a lot of administrative things as well as like overseeing budget stuff. Also being like a community presence, right? So kind of actively participating in things for the coalition, answering emails, being kind of that community center point person if questions arise. This is also important with the treasury position because we're a fiscally sponsored chapter with national, which I'll get to. We'll need 2 people to fill these roles, so those are pretty important. And then we'll also need somebody to cover development or, you know, someone maybe who's really excited about events. I think we've got communications covered. I think Aaron will be stepping into that. And then also, you know, these are not like set in stone roles. There can be a lot of different, there's a lot of room for other roles to be built. So if something that you're envisioning isn't here, you can absolutely make that. And that will be up to the next group that comes in to decide what that looks like and what that could be possibly. Any questions so far from anybody? I can't see people. Well, I guess I kind of can. I can't see people, but is everybody doing okay? Cool. Okay. And then this is this is kind of like the web of what we do. So as a chapter, we work with you know, farmers and producers directly. So anybody from the very well experienced to like supernovas who are just kind of figuring out where to go. We also try to link up with nonprofits, community-based organizations, alliances and groups that are maybe doing similar work, non-farmers, so people who like support what we're doing, allies, neighbors, aspiring farmers who want to kind of dip their toes in, but like may not know where to start. I think we get a lot of those people at our social events. We also work with advocates. So if a year comes when we are getting involved with a certain cause, that may involve talking to, you know, legislative reps, important policy voices and some of the farm advocacy space, and then also different groups at national too, some national farmers coalition people. Here's a few things we did this year and a little bit of 2022. So we sent, okay, actually this is wrong. I was kind of like mashing this up with 2022. So these numbers are kind of fake. I was like quickly doing this, so shame on me for data points, but this is, we sent probably about 7 newsletters this year with a total of 40 or 400 subscribers. We had, I think, 3 separate donation drives from community partners. So we had one with Urban American Farmer, Lo-Fi Coffee, and then we did like a community driven donation run for us to send people to conference. We did not do 15 events. We did like 4 or 5, but we've done 15 since 2022. We had a huge farm party in October at Montesina Ranch. We raised about $4,000, which is awesome. We were a City of Austin Food Justice mini grant recipient for 2024. So that we got it in September or October, but it'll be used for 2024. We also got a small event sponsorship from Southern SARE, which is the Southern Agriculture Research and Education Group. I don't know if that's right, but they do a lot to fund agricultural research. And then here's some photos of some stuff we've done the last few years, some socials. This is a staffer from Michael Cloud's office. This is a fruit tree workshop, just some of the stuff that we'll have out. Beautiful Texas people and veggies and animals. These are some of the things that we'll provide as a chapter. I think a lot of the question is kind of like, what do we do? And that always changes. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, what do we do? We do anything ranging from networking to social, anything in that range where we are trying to actively get farmers to gather and participate together in a space. And that could also look like conferences too. We are often asked to come to TAFCA or the summer conference to do tabling. So we try to just be active in that way around the gathering events. And then resource support. So, we try to put out some newsletters or just landing a hand and understanding like what's important to know, who's hiring, anything that can kind of further the ag space in Texas, as well as advocacy. So we're connected to National Young Farmers, and we try our best to make sure that's a centerpiece and the things that we are talking about and writing about and sharing out. And then direction. So, I think what this chapter does best is serve as a place to get people excited about ag and helping them figure out where to go. A quick note on fiscal sponsorship. You can read more about this on the national website, but I just wanted to throw this out here for anybody who will watch this later, is that we're fiscally sponsored, which means that we have, I guess, a privilege that some chapters don't have, and that we have the capacity to spend money, which is great. And we're under the 501c3 nonprofit status that National is. So it just allows us to receive donations and contributions and also apply for grants. So that's a really great part about being connected to National. And then as well, the connection to National is that they give us direction for advocacy. We're connected to a national voice that works to shift power and change policy to resource a new generation of working farmers. This is a little bit about who we're kind of serving. I think historically we've mostly been in Travis, and I think a lot of us would like to see that expand into the other counties. But support can change, and it's not limited or needs to be in all these areas. These are just kind of the counties that we've seen people in, and kind of some initial goals we wanted to set and being in these places. Anything else from leaders so far? Any comments or updates? Okay, cool. So now for nomination. Oh, I went too fast. For nominations, those will be open until the 31st, and all of that is on our website as well. So if you apply and throw your hat in the ring, you can expect to hear back in February. I would say generally it's not super competitive, and if you show interest, we can definitely find a spot for you. And we're trying to gauge support this year so that people can do roles that they're interested in. And I've listed out basically everything that's in the small PowerPoint online on the website in a much more thorough manner. So it's got everything from like expectations to like what other chapters are doing to like the style that we organize ourselves in from National. So that's all there for y'all. Some expectations is that leadership is a commitment. We expect that anybody who serves on the chapter will commit at least like a year of their time, but obviously that's not legally binding, nor are you like getting paid to do this work. So that's also an important consideration. But we ask just for your consideration, if you're thinking about it, to try to shoot for a year and see how you're feeling. A lot of us have been on this chapter for multiple years, so hopefully that speaks to the type of work that this is, and it is fulfilling, and everybody obviously has different schedules. So there is room to get paid for this as well. It just kind of depends on the funding that's available and the chapter that's in charge. Whoever the leaders are, they can decide whether or not to go for that. And again, this is kind of long. I feel like I won't run through all these, but these are just some principles that we laid out as a chapter, just kind of talking about what minimum we wanted to set for ourselves, just what we're dedicated to. We're never required to be actively in farming, so you don't have to be on a farm to do this work. And just kind of a set of respect and guiding principles that allow us to do this work together and to make decisions collectively. And then here's what else you should know as we wrap this up. If you're thinking about nominating yourself, just be realistic. Think about how much time and capacity you have going into 2024, and also let that guide, some of your intentions. Think about collaborations you might have, like what experiences do you have in the farm community or are interested in making? I'd also say, you know, dream a little bit, imagine like what kind of farming community you'd like to build, because that's the best thing about this chapter is that you can really mold it into something that you'd like to see for your community, as well as, you know, sharing your story and just letting us know kind of where you're at, what your experience is like, some of the things that you've seen and are either really impacted by or maybe want to see change. So all those things are helpful for us. And yeah, you know, nothing really about nominations. They're pretty straightforward, but that's all I have. I know that was kind of a speed run. I just don't want to take up too much time for anybody's evening, but now we can kind of open the floor for questions. And yeah, experiences from leaders. If you have anything you'd like to say, now is the time. So I'm gonna stop this screen share real quick. And here we are, back in our little bubble. If anybody has thoughts or questions, go right ahead. Let me see. Thank you, Katie. Yes, you know I do a thorough job, to my own detriment.
I'm curious if you guys have any goals or projects that you were wanting to complete, but in this shift or transition that y'all are making, would like to see continue.
That's an amazing question. Does anybody want to take a stab at it first?
I'll go first. Something that I was trying to focus on this year was to really find like a good sponsor to help fund things. As Haley was saying, is we are funded by the national chapter, but it is limited. And although that didn't really stop us from doing some cool stuff this year, it would be nice to maybe be able to get us a little stipend or, oh, sorry, I just realized my camera is not showing my face. Yeah, just having some funding, some more funding would be great. I had a baby in June, so that really kind of took up a lot of my time. But something I also realized is whenever I was giving my intros, I didn't really say anything about my role as treasurer. But something else that I focus on is, as Haley was saying, like managing the money. So a lot of our receipts from donations, different expenses from parties and events that we host, I make sure it's updated, and I communicate also with the national chapter about, I went through a fiscal sponsorship training, which was super nice and very informative. They're super knowledgeable over there, very open. What else? Drawing a blank again. But something else I would like to note is I am going to be switching to more communications duties. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be completely cut off from treasurer. I'm always going to be down to like help out with different things. This is the end of my first year, so I'm still learning, but I can at least help guide you to who can answer questions that I possibly can't. And yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks, Erin. Yeah, I was gonna say too, we're fiscally sponsored, but it's up to the chapter to do its own fundraising. So basically, with national, we get our own bank account and all the benefits of being fiscally sponsored, but it's up to us to decide how we want to use that money and raise money. So it's all self-directed in that way. And then, like Erin said, national's with us every step of the way. So this work isn't, you know, it's not going to go undirected, and we'll be here if there are questions that come up. Just a note on that. Anybody else have thoughts about stuff they wanted to complete but didn't get to?
Yeah, I think something I wanted to work on that I never really defined, although we went through some like iterations of talking about it, and was thinking through what membership with CTYFC actually meant. you know, we discussed it a lot, but we didn't really come to like a conclusion of like, what is the benefit of being a member? And we don't really want to charge people to be a member, but we kind of want to like grow a base, especially if advocacy is something we want to be working towards, which we've, I think, really more focused on like community building and socials and networking, which is good because I don't really see that as another niche that another organization is filling. So it's been really nice to be part of the coalition and have those events where you just kind of get the camaraderie time and the social time with other farmers. So I think membership, the other, I guess, major thing for me is was grants. Like we wrote our first larger, I guess, grant to a foundation this last year, but we didn't get it. We got a couple of those smaller grants, which was really great and helped with specific things. But I think that's a place where CTYFC could definitely grow. And I think I may have only told Haley this, but you know, in my current role at TCLF, there's, I think, opportunity for the coalition to me to work with the coalition at a different capacity, but to do some grants and stuff potentially, just depending on what it was for. So you know, not disappearing off the face of the earth. I think that's a place there's CTYFC could either partner with others and get like some more sustainable funding that way by being like an outreach, like a hand of outreach or doing something like that, or write our own, depending on the program.
You or Hannah, do you all have anything?
I was also going to mention just kind of figuring out our membership like perks and things like that and what it means so that people have some clarity if they do want to join, like what do you get out of it? You know, we have a lot of people who just show up to events, but there aren't actually members. So that would be nice. And yeah, just like kind of doing more of the Skillshare type of events, I think, and going to people's farms and kind of rotating farms that we have our workshops and things on, I think would be really useful and more engaging and accessible to the farmers.
I think one thing that we did do kind of, because we talked a lot about like why we were raising money, and one of that reasons was like mutual aid. So like a part of that was scholarships this year. We raised money to send some farmers to local conferences. And I don't know if like that's something that, you know, future coalition leaders would want to branch out and make it a more broad mutual aid kind of fund with funds that we raised.
Yeah, I think those are all really amazing examples. Something else that comes to mind for me is that I wanted to host more just general meetings. I think we've tried in the chapter to do like a lot of events, like where we were doing month on, month off, or you know, switching between educational and social, and that was great for like engagement, but it was really hard to do on us because we're volunteers. This year we did a different method where we did less events, but like more intention based. So maybe doing one every few months. And we were really successful in that. It just is so hard to get to like all the things you want to get to. And it takes a lot of work to do those things. So they're by no means like shortcomings. It's like, you know, accepting limitations too. It's like we can only do so much year to year. And yeah, I would have loved to host more general meetings on farms, like Hannah said. Like I would have loved to engage more farmers directly to see if they wanted to host things. Yeah, I think that's what I would say. Is that a good answer for you, Melody?
Yeah, definitely. I guess as you guys are talking, I am really thinking about who are the members that you're serving. Like, who do they comprise of? What are they needing?
A good question. Like Katie said, we don't necessarily have like our own membership base that we directly manage. I mean, if you are a member of the National Farmers Coalition, ideally you're a member of the Central Texas Coalition. But in terms of managing those members, we don't have the data, but I guess I would say from experience, we see a lot of people who are in their first years of farming who kind of want to be more involved, but maybe need to figure out like where to start or how to engage. It's also a lot of experienced farmers too who want to maybe knowledge share or pass along information. It's also just generally people who have been in the ag community, looking for like more connection and looking for ways to kind of like come together on shared interests and issues, because I think farming is just a really isolating type of work. So I think we try to mitigate that the best that we can, whether that's online or in person. But yeah, we don't have any like hard data, so it's really just from experience. Anybody else want to take a stab at that one?
I do think it's a lot of young or beginning farmers, because we do kind of create an environment or like a space, like a safe space for people to ask, I guess, seemingly dumb questions. I'm only in my third year of farming, but it was very intimidating to figure out where to begin, who to talk to. Thankfully, my algorithm brought up CTYFC, and I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And then it just kind of like opened up to the whole world of, or our little world of sustainable farming or regenerative ag. And I do think a lot of people that at least came to the general meeting were kind of like specialists in their little offshoot of farming, whether it was a mushroom business or someone who's really good at growing fruit trees, or Trisha from Urban American Farmer was there. Like there were all these like great experienced people from like different corners of our world that came together. So that was pretty cool, because I feel like that's such a great base or like foundation of members
It's a
to
lot
like
of
grow.
small. Yeah, like Aaron said, it's a lot of small farmers too. Like I feel like we don't really engage too much with big ag people, or like when you think of people who do like FFA or kind of go like that route in agriculture, I think we get a lot more like people who have not like grown up in ag and like really want to figure out how to get into it. Or yeah, people who just don't have any ties and like our first gen. Yeah, exactly. Oh. Any other questions from Austin or Melody? I know we said this meeting was about 30 minutes, so if y'all need to go, you can type in your questions and we can answer and record them for you for later. But just want to make sure everybody's good on time. If you have to go, no worries.
I was curious to hear a little bit more about the grant process and how that's been going for y'all, like who all is writing the grants. I understand that is a tedious task with a lot of no's, as I've come to experience in other organizations, but I just wanted to get more insight in that.
Well, you guys are in for a treat because we have the Grandmaster grant writer, Katie Trish, on the Zoom call with us today, because everybody goes to Katie for help with technical assistance. So Katie's like really on the ball with that, and she's been so instrumental in helping us think about grants as a coalition. I would say she's the first person who kind of helped us think in that space. And then I also write grants for work. I have written the last 2 small grants that we've gotten, so I really just try to keep my finger on the pulse for them. It is a pretty wild process though. Like you really have to keep your eye out for what's coming up, and that also involves communication with national too. So it's coordinating with them to make sure like they're not also going for the same type of grants, because they're kind of their own entity, which is a little weird. Yeah, Katie, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, grants are a different kind of beast. But I think, like Haley said, like we looked at some bigger programs, because a lot of the grants I'm working with right now are like federal grants or state grants, like larger opportunities. So like the coalition doesn't really have the capacity to go after some of those larger grants, but there's a lot of opportunity then on some of the smaller, more local or potentially state level grants. At some point it becomes more of an administrative question almost than it does like a programmatic capacity question. And so that's the consideration. So going after some of these smaller things or sponsorship requests, like the one we got from Southern Sarah, are going to be a lot more attainable. I think if we could find the right, which isn't really the space I've worked in, but I'm not working in right now, is like kind of the more philanthropic or foundation space. I think that's a pretty prime for CTYFC, but it's not a world that I'm actively working in because I'm pretty connected with USDA programs at the moment. But again, I love CTYFC and I'm not going to disappear off the face of the earth. So I do enjoy grant writing. I've been doing it for like 9 years now. And so I definitely am here and open to helping the coalition with whoever the leaders are that kind of take over and want to maybe look at something different.
It'd be really nice to get into that philanthropic space, or have like kind of an angel donor situation. Chapters, and the great thing about being a chapter is that there are other people doing the same thing in other states, so they kind of operate as like a template or a sounding board if you've got questions. Like I've reached out to other state chapters to figure out how they do certain things. Some chapters have gotten fully funded through like Patagonia. They offer a lot of grants for ag and sustainability, outdoors, anything like that. Muck Boots also does like an annual chapter grant with National Young Farmers Coalition. So they have like something called a chapter capacity grant. I think it's like up to $5,000. I can't remember, but you have to have somebody who's like really excited about checking those things, and then also who's excited about possibly writing them and like seeking help to get them done. So it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it can be like really rewarding. And a lot of data too. There's like a lot that some of these grants will ask of you, which just might be out of your limits, and that's fine. But it also, I've enjoyed writing these grants because it kind of exercises some practice for me. And yeah, it's just, finding that person or teaming up with somebody in the community who can help you get there. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have one last one. Are there any chapters that you really look to as a primary model, or that have been specifically like successful?
I really like the Hoosier chapter, which I think is up in Illinois or Indiana. I can't remember where Hoosier is, but they do a lot of cool work. Colorado has got some amazing chapters. Especially particularly one person I met a few years ago. He was working on some really cool stuff there with aid for farmers. There are also, who's the other one I follow? Northern Illinois, they do a really good job. As well as Rhode Island. Rhode Island is pretty active too. We were talking to the Greater New Orleans chapter, but I think they kind of went a little inactive maybe last year, so I lost contact with them. But they're all around, and like there are also opportunities that National creates for chapters to engage too. There's like monthly leader calls for all the chapters, and then there's like an email service, so it's really easy to stay connected. Does anybody else have chapters they follow or like to look at? Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, I see them mostly on Instagram and chapter monthly calls, so, but they're all on the website, on the national website. You can actually like look through, and it had links to their website if they have it, their social media, and you can kind of see what they're up to. Cool. I think we've definitely gone over a little bit, and I want to squeeze as much out as I can over here. Does anybody else have anything they wanted to bring up before we wrap up this evening? Anything for the good of the order?
I do want to say that we did have some good momentum, or we did end with some good momentum. Like there's definitely like people not to be like self-absorbed, but people love us.
You can
Like,
brag.
like we're pretty cool, you know? But no, like seriously though, like I'm excited for what's gonna come next year, just based on what we ended with.
You know, I feel that. I really feel sad that I am just not in a place to keep doing this anymore, but it is so exciting. We've had just like so many cool things pop up. Yeah, Farm Party was a great success. We got this a food justice grant from the city that will allow us to do a Skillshare event, which we did in October as well. Thank you, Austin. Austin said the hype is real. Thank you. And yeah, I want to make sure that it is carried forth, and like it's great we've had so much support, because I think it'll make whoever carries the chapter next really easy. They won't have to worry too much about money stuff right away. So I'm, yeah, just really proud of the work that we've done, and it always changes. And yeah, I have lots more I could gush about, but I ditto what Aaron said. Yeah. Anything else? We'll wrap up. Cool. I will email y'all with the link that I mentioned, and I'll send you maybe a copy of this PowerPoint if you, or you can ask, if you want the PowerPoint, you can ask me. I'm not going to send it to you. I'm not going to force that upon you, but everything is on the website if you need it, on our website. So I'll email you with our website and maybe the PowerPoint. We'll see. But if you guys have any questions, like just reach out to us. You can DM us, you can email us, and then I'll upload this to YouTube probably tomorrow in case you want to rewatch it for any reason. Other than that, I think that's it. So thanks for being here. 45 past the hour. We're over a little bit, but yeah, thanks for being here, and just reach out. Cool. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm gonna stop this recording. How
Thank
do
you
I do it?
guys.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you.